Okay, in tonight's demonstration, my goal is to integrate mixed media collage material into three panels, a triptych, and the composition design I've loosely chosen is going to be, it's sort of curvilinear, okay? And before class, I don't know, I just grabbed this collage material that I had. So usually I pencil something in. I've already got this curve going. I think I'm going to go ahead and glue these pieces down, and then I'm going to go put a wash on that. Okay, so first I'm going to Mod Podge my pieces down. Okay, somebody, you got to mute yourself.
I can pick the nails easy. It's the big toe.
Okay, so now I'm going to glue down my collage material. And mind you, I'm doing this all upside down so that you can see the perspective that I actually want. So I'm using Mod Podge. And I think it's from like an old musical book, okay? Okay, and then I've got these pieces here that are a little bit more raised, a little more dimension. In an ideal world, I would have time for all of this to dry, but I don't. Okay. Now I want to put a wash on top of this and over some of these magazine pages. I'm going to go with this Indian yellow fluid acrylic. If you don't have fluid acrylic, which has a high pigment content, you can just thin some acrylic paint if you want to do a wash. I'm going to use this, my favorite brush from the hardware store that's flexible. Okay, so the movement goes like this. So I'm just going to go for it across the whole thing. Okay. All right, what next? Now I have the urge to use this Japanese sumi brush to put in a darker line. I'm going to do a big no-no, which is painting with acrylic. I'm going to use this high flow, which is like a dye. And I'll just be really good about washing this brush out. But I want that kind of calligraphic mark. It's very weird painting upside down. Okay, what next? I think there's still going to be some collage material coming in at some point, but I'm not sure just yet. it's also nice if you've got, there's charcoal pencils, but they come in different colors. So this is a kind of an iron oxide. And what's really nice about drawing on a surface that's wet with these is it's going to become a little bit like paint. So that's fun to play with. And then you get some finer lines. Okay. Now I mixed up some of the colors from this palette. So I can paint with a brush, but I can also scrape across with my palette knife as a painting tool. I don't really like that, what I just did there. So one of the things when you're working in a triptych, I mean, I'm working across the whole thing, but then towards the end, if I separate each one, they each need to operate on their own. That would be the goal. Okay, so I've got my wash layer. Now I'm going a little bit thicker here. And one of the ways of integrating collage material is you have to be willing to have some sharp edges and then some that are more blurred and transition in to the rest of your composition. So that's what I'm trying to do with this edge right here. And I really don't have an overall plan at this point. I can scratch in with the back of my paintbrush, that's Graffito. Sometimes mixing, you can just mix right on the canvas. That's what I'm doing right now. I kind of like that. So I'm repeating it over here. I'm using my fingers. I'm so thrown that I'm just doing whatever comes to me right now. Which I kind of like, actually. Sort of atmospheric.
What kind of paint are you using?
I am using acrylic.
But you said it had a certain texture to it or a certain density.
This one, there's the golden fluid, and then I use the high flow, which is more of a dye, and then this is just regular, and I'm applying it, now I'm applying it thickly. Okay, let's see, something down here. Should I go darker? Any opinions on that?
Finger painting.
Yeah, I don't know, I just felt the urge. So the other thing about painting, at a certain point it gets very wet and you might have to stop, but then there would be, layers and layers, like artists might spend months. But I've got a good structure, so you want to have a good, so now we're out of the land of before we were just sort of letting it evolve. Tonight, it'd be good if you had either an overall movement or structure to begin with.
Do you ever use a hair dryer to dry them quick?
Absolutely. I'm not doing that right now. This is kind of satisfying because the paint is getting kind of tacky. And so I'm just moving this around with my finger. Okay, now let's see. It's going to be far from done, but let's see. I'm putting some white in there now. So now I'm dragging at about a 45-degree angle across this wavy cardboard because I want to pick up that texture.
I think you need to bring the black over a little bit to the one on your right.
I'm sorry, it's actually Prussian blue. So this one?
No, the other side you should bring over some black to it. Or
It's
the
not,
Prussian blue. Or what is it?
okay.
The dark color, because it hangs by itself.
Right.
Doesn't integrate.
Now, I can layer in more collage material if I want.
Is that just plain paper?
This is gold, and then this was some bronze corrugated paper that's got a little bit of red in it that sort of connects with that. So the only thing I was going for here was a feeling of movement, which goes with the musical aspect. Other than that, I really was just flying by the seat of my pants here. Okay, so this is probably, I probably would add another color down here, but this is where I would take a break and then step back and take a look. So I am going to photograph this as a whole, but then I want to look at each piece separately. You know, does it hang together? If it didn't have the other two, would it work? What changes do I need to possibly add or make? Like Louise said, you need something darker here. So I don't know right now. That's as much as I can do. And then I'd come back later and maybe put a few more touches on it.